Rebecca from Pear Treasures, and I'm here today to share with you the tutorial for the telephone booth. Now you can look at the link below, and there's a link to a full preview of the telephone booth, and it comes as a kit right now with the photoplay papers A Day at the Park, and they're really awesome. And again, you can find the link below to the album and how it fits inside and all the yummy goodies that come with it. Okay, so what we're going to do now right off the get is we're going to go through your kit. Now I pre-did some pieces, okay, just to save a little bit of time. So in your kit, if you don't get this, you might want to contact me. Pretty sure you will. Okay, you get a handle for the door with the 2 brads. You're also going to get 10 of the small magnets and 8 of the large. Okay, your hinges. Okay, and they're Craftex hinges. So you can bend and bend and bend and bend, and they're not going to break like paper does. And with that, you get the brads as well. And here's what comes in the kit. So you get all these pieces in the kit. But what I want you guys to do first is grab these pieces. So this piece that matches up to it, okay, and this is the spine. So these are the parts for the album, and that is a separate tutorial, and you can also find that below. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. What I want you guys to do first is pull out these specific pieces, and we're going to go in order. All right, everything you see on this table is what I used. Okay, this is art glitter glue. I also have 1/8 of an inch score tape. Again, you can use the adhesive of your choice. I use Super T, which is instant glue. It's also gap filling, and these are for models, and I believe you can find it at Home Depot, but I'm pretty sure you can go to a modeling store and find this as well. You might be able to find it at Michael's, or if you're in the United States, Joann's. I'm not sure. I actually got this at a modeling store. My friend's got a store down in Dundas, which isn't far, and she sells this stuff. So I got that at her store. And because it's gap filling, and you'll see why as we go along. You're going to need some white paint. You're going to need some red paint. And you're definitely going to need acrylic paint. Okay? I've done this in matte. You can do this in a glossy finish if you want. But keep in mind, when you're gluing your parts together, you're going to have to sand it a little bit. So what you can do is just grab a nail file. You can get like 10 packs of them at the dollar store. Okay, and you can just use this nail file just to sand the paint a little bit, because if you don't, it's not going to stick very well. All right, and I got some paint brushes. I have a roll of Scotch tape, clear tape. Okay, this is a gift wrapping tape, I believe, and it's not super uber duper uber sticky, because we're going to be putting it on, but then we're going to be peeling it off. So anything that's super sticky, probably just press it against your shirt, or wear a fluffy shirt and just press the tape against the sleeve of your shirt, and that'll make it not super uber sticky. Okay, so now that we've set all this aside for now, so I'm just going to slide this stuff back. Now I did a little bit of prep work. So you're going to pull these pieces out, okay, and paint. Everything's getting painted, but certain things are going to get painted on both sides. So for example, these two are the skinnier pieces as opposed to the wider piece here. I'm just going to show you this. So this is the wider piece, so you can see the difference in size. Okay, so these 2 pieces, you're going to do it on both sides, because you're going to see the inside of this telephone booth. Okay, because we're using acetate windows. Now this side, this is the one, I just put 2 holes here to mark it for you guys. If you want to make your own handle, that's fine. It doesn't fit the handle. It's basically just a marker to show you that this is the side that faces the magnet. And as we go through, you'll understand. Okay, so I painted one side of this only. Okay, I also took the hinges. Okay, now these hinges are lying flat when you get them, and I've scored them. with the laser. And what I want you guys to do, I'm just going to move this for a second so you can see what I did. Okay, so I held it against the edge of my table and I just gently folded it over. Because when you paint these, you're going to see inside of the score. So I painted inside the score as well. So I pre-folded them. Okay, and I made it on a 90-degree angle. Okay, so you can see it there. And I only painted one side. So I painted the outside. So this is going to be your outside. And I just pre-painted both of these. I just thought it would make time go by a little faster. Okay, all of these pieces, there's one larger one, and then there's 5 of the smaller ones. I painted all of these as well, okay, on one side. Okay, same as this one, on one side. Then what I did is I took these square pieces, okay, and I pre-painted one side of this so far, and the other side. Okay, and we're gonna paint the other side of this, but we want to put these little strips on before we do that. Okay, so let's get right at it. First thing we're gonna do is, if you want to pre-paint everything, that's fine. Again, don't worry if you paint both sides and you've gone ahead and pre-painted, that's fine too. Okay, we're just gonna go through right now because there's a little bit of prep work that we're gonna have to do in order to get everything working out properly. So with regards to these pieces here, so you're going to get 2 of these. Okay, I've already glued the other one down just so you can see how it's glued down. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to take these pieces and glue them down before we paint. Okay, and they match up exactly. And I want you to be kind of precise with this, because if anything's sticking out, it might give you a little bit of an issue later. So I'm just going to glue this down. I glued the one down already, so you guys could see that. And my glue doesn't want to work. Nice. Okay. So let's do this again. Yay. No. Oh, no, it still doesn't want to work. Okay, try it again. Well, okay, I probably should clean this out very soon. Just saying. Yay, okay, we got it this time. So I'm just gonna glue this down pretty good. All right. And also, I have dry baby wipes here. And I'm going to match this exactly with the top. Okay, so edge to edge, make sure it's perfectly round up here. Squish it together, and I'm going to get out the excess glue. Okay, before it dries. Get that out of there. And get it off this side too, and you will see on the inside as well. I'm just going to take that glue out of there. Now you can also draw a pencil line and do that, and just you will have the precise amount of glue, but 6 1 half a dozen together. Now I have this pokey tool here. Oh, I'm going to push my camera back too. I have this pokey tool here, so what you can do with any tool, a pin or anything, if you have a lot of excess glue in the corners here, so up in here, I want you to take that out, because we're going to be sticking our telephone, these pieces here, inside of this hole, and we don't want a lot of glue buildup on there. So I just get all that glue off, okay, like that. All right. So these 2 pieces are done. They're perfectly even at the top. Okay, so it just goes like that. Make sure it's not sticking out on this edge here. Okay, and if it is, you can just chop it off with scissors. All right, so these 2 are done. I'm going to set them aside. Both of these sides are going to be painted. Okay, so we're going to paint these before we put these in. All right. Then what I want you to do is we're going to take our back piece. This is our back piece. All right, and here's where your tape comes in handy. So I'm just going to pull this off so you can see. What I've done is I put tape on top of all of these holes, okay? Oh, and I've glued the other piece down. This is the third piece. This is the larger piece, and it fits right on top. Okay, so it's glued down. All right, and then you're going to take this piece of tape, like I said, and you're going to cover the holes, just like that. Okay, and you don't have to push down super hard. You just want it to stick enough, because we're going to glue the magnets in there. Okay, so on all four corners, I've covered the holes on one side with tape. I've also done it with these strips here. Okay, and I haven't bent these yet because I know I'm going to lie them on here, and if you bend them, it's just going to be fighting with you, so we can do that in a minute. Line up your holes, okay, and make sure that at the bottom here it is perfectly lined up all the way across. All right, and your holes are lined up. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my magnets. So I'm taking the small magnets, and here's how I do it. I have the tape on the other side, so it's going to help it stick in there a little bit. I take my stack of magnets, I just push it in there, and I slide it out. Okay, and there's one magnet in there so far. All right, and the tape's holding it in. Now we're going to have to turn it around anyway, and we're going to have to push it out because we have that piece there glued in already. All right, we're going to take this, we're going to drop it in again, and we're going to slide it out. Okay, same with the bottom. Take this one will go a little easier. Take it in, drop it in, slide it out like that. Okay, so I'm going to push all of these down just so they're sticking to the tape. Now there's a little tiny bit of leeway in there. All right, not much, but I left enough leeway so that the glue will be able to sink into the edges. So all around the edge here, I want the glue to fill in. If you don't have a gap filling glue, you can actually put glue in the hole first, because you're going to paint it later, right? So you can put glue in the hole first, like put it on the tape. Put your tape down, put the glue in the hole, so I'll show you. Okay, the glue, we'll use this glue. Although this is the gap filling glue that I'm going to use, but what I want you to do is just take the glue and put a dab of glue on the edge of the circle, on the inside edge. And then, let's see, make sure your polarity is the same. So I'm going to drop that one in there. And I'm going to stick that down, and I'm going to make sure it's going the right way. And I'm going to slide it off. Now this is crazy glue, so I got to get this off right away and not stick my fingers together. Okay, and you'll see, just let it sit there. If it's sunk down in too far, okay, just give it a little push out before the glue dries. Okay, and you can see that the glue comes right through the other side. That's why I like the gap filling glue. It goes right through it. Okay, so I'm going to set all those aside for now, and I'm going to just continue to drop glue around the edges of my magnet. Okay, I'm going to do it for the bottom as well here. Like I said, because it's gap filling, okay, we're good to go. And we have tape underneath there, so I'm not worried about the tape going through and getting the table. All right, so I'm just going to let that sit for a little bit. Okay, I'm just wiping off the excess, and I'm holding my finger in behind because I've already glued this down. Of course, you guys don't have to glue it down first. I just glued it there to remind you to glue it down. Remind myself, actually. So hopefully you watch this video first, and I'm just taking this and swiping it off quick because it's crazy glue and it will go crazy and it'll stick to everything. So I'm just swiping it really quick like that, and then I'm going to allow it to sit and absorb the glue, and I'm taking this and I'm putting it right into the garbage. I'm going to stick it to another piece of paper, and I'm going to get another dry baby wipe. I don't want to stick my fingers to anything. So now we're going to put these down. So again, we're going to match these up, and I've got the tape on the holes, okay? So you want to make sure your polarity is the same. Now I put tape on again so that it won't go through and stick. I, of course, if I were you, I would wait until this is completely dry. Okay, so let it set up for a little bit and then deal with it later. This is very fast drying, so I'm not too worried about it, but if I were you guys, I would wait. So I'm going to make sure these holes line up and that it's lined up with the bottom. And again, what I'm going to do is just take this and the polarity of the magnets, so as I'm dropping it, it'll find its own way in. And I'm going to use the same technique. I'm just going to drop it in, and that's that side. And then I'm going to do this side here and do the same thing. And I'm just letting the magnet find its way. Now, don't lose the last two magnets because you're going to need that in a second for your door. So I'm just going to push this down a little bit here. Okay. And then I'm going to slide them off. And hopefully I didn't glue it too badly. So I'm going to slide them off, being careful not to knock the magnets out. Okay, so like that, and then the same on this side, and slide it out. Okay, that's just, and the reason I'm sliding it is because I'm not sure if all that glue is really dry yet. So I'm going to set that aside to dry a bit more, and then I'm going to do the same with these, and I'm going to drop glue in here. Okay, and I'm making sure that it gets in the edges. I know it's hard for you guys to see this, but again, because it's gap filling, it's going to fall into the cracks. Just a little bit of crack that I left behind. Okay, and I'm putting enough so that it can actually sink into the chipboard. All right, so that should be enough there. I'm going to put the lid on that so I don't knock it over. Okay. Now, before it dries, we're going to do this again, and I'm just going to give it all a quick wipe. And I got some on there. And like that. Take this, and I'm wiping it really quick, and I'm not touching this to anything else because I'll end up with baby wipe stuck to my hand. Okay. That's going in the garbage. Okay, and if there's any on your board or whatever, scratch it off now. Because if not, it's crazy glue. It'll be there forever. Okay. So these pieces are done. And now you know they will fit in here perfectly. Okay. We're going to need that to work exactly as planned when we get to that point. The next thing we're going to do is, so we have this piece, and it has that little portion for the hole. We have this piece, and we also have the door. Okay. What I want you guys to do first is set this down so that you understand what's going on. Okay, you can glue it down whenever you want. I'm going to glue it down now because I'm going to paint the whole thing together, the two pieces. Okay, and you can see your holes are there. Now I have this tape hanging over here, and I'm just going to cut it off because I don't need that much tape there. All right. It's actually sticking. Usually I would use my X-Acto knife, but okay. So there's that little piece of tape. Get that out of the way. So you want to glue this down all the way around, and again, you want to make sure it's matched up at the top and the sides, and there's no overhang. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this first. Get that tape out of the way. It's gonna haunt me. It won't get off. Get off, tape. Okay. Again, my glue is throwing fits. There we go. And I'm putting fairly good coverage on this because by the time I get around to the other side, it's art glitter glue and it's gonna dry really quick. So I'm putting a fair amount of glue, plus I can wipe off the excess later. The more glue I put, the more wiggle room I have when I'm hooking these pieces together. So I'm lining it up on the edges, on the top, and everything matches perfectly, so you can line it up on any side, really. Set it on the bottom, and now I'm just going to squish it together. Make sure the top, because you're going to really see the top, so make sure the top is perfectly lined up, more than anything. All right. And I'm just squishing that together. And I'm going to wipe off the excess glue before it dries on there. And again, we're going to paint this, so you don't want to have big globs of glue hanging out, right? You can sand it after if you like. I'm just squishing all this glue out. Okay. Good. Again, if you have any glue in the corners, just pull it out with your pokey tool, which is actually a We Are Memory Keepers brad setter. All right, and down here, I'm going to pull this glue out of this corner. You can use a pin, you can use the tip of your scissors, just make sure you wipe them off really good. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's what we have. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my magnets, the last two that I have in my kit, and I am going to drop it into one of them into this hole. And again, I know you can't see it, but I've left just enough of a gap to allow this gap filling glue to seep into the edges. Okay. I'm going to just let that sit for a minute. And then I'm going to grab this. Make sure the glue's already dried on this one. So I'm not worried about crazy gluing my fingers together. And I'm going to take it and wipe it off. Just the stuff that's on top of the magnet. Alright? Because I'm going to, as I said, you guys can wait and take your time and let it dry. Okay, what I'm going to do now is set this onto here, and I'm setting it in the hole, so you see you got all this wiggle room in here. All right, what you want to see at the end of it is you want to see a gap on this side. Okay, and you'll see that your hole lines up perfectly, and see this gap in here. You want that gap. Okay, so you can line it up with the other magnet and take this, and again, I've already put my tape on the other side here. Okay, so you can see that edge, and I've got it all lined up, and I'm dropping the magnet and letting it just fall in that hole, and I'm going to push it down because I have tape there, and that will help me so I know it's not going to fall out. Okay, so the last bit of crazy glue for now here. I'm going to use the gap filling glue and going to go around the edge. And I want to make sure this is on there pretty good, because if you're going to be using the door, I'm letting people see the inside of your creation, you want to make sure that your glue is going to work amazing, because we're going to be peeling all of the tape off before we paint. Okay, so I think that's about dry enough. I'm just going to put a quick wipe like that. And I didn't even glue my fingers to the cloth this time. I've done it. I got missing chunks of finger from that crazy glue, let me tell you. Okay, so now we see that it will snap in here perfectly. All right. And these two pieces I'm going to allow to dry. I'm actually going to put them together to dry, just because I can. Now, what I want you guys to do is paint this, okay? There's two ways you can do this. If you get too much paint inside, okay, so say I use a flat sponge for this, and I drag the paint across, and I've etched it out into the chipboard enough where the paint, as long as you don't glop it on this brush, this paint will just run right across, and you just go across a couple times, right? Like this and like this, and it stays on the top. Now, if you get paint, I'm just going to show you on the inside of this. So let's just say, I'll just do it on this one here. So let's say you're dragging it across and you go, oh no, I've dropped it in there so far and I put so much paint on. What I want you to do is just take a baby wipe, take up what you can, okay, and just soak it up there. All right, and glide it across again. So now I'm gliding. All right, because now I've put black ink everywhere. Pulling that paint out of there. Okay, so that's going to be good. We've done that. And you can either do it ahead of time. Here, I'm going to use this again. And just wipe that up, because I'm going to be painting red and I don't need white paint on stuff, right? Okay. Once it dries, okay, and definitely wait till it dries because you'll ruin your marker. I'm going to do this just to show you what I want you to do. You can firstly put your marker inside. You can even use a Sharpie and get the Sharpie right down inside of these letters, okay? So I just ran the Sharpie inside all of the letters, and you'll see Sharpie all around the edge. Just let it dry good and then paint over top just like I showed you. Now if you've done this, okay, and you don't know what to do, this is what you do. So you take a pokey tool or a pin, you get out a majority of the paint that you've put in there. So any big gloppy paints, just pull it out and gently just scratch it out. Okay, because you've put the Sharpie down first, or your ink. This is a Staedtler pigment liner, and it's a 0.3. You can get a 0.5 in there, 0.7 in there, whatever you want. You can even put a Sharpie. What I want you to do is just drag, because you've done the black first, okay? Wait till it dries and then scratch out the paint that you've glopped in there. So get as much of that paint out as you can. And hey, it happens. Some of us have kids and dogs and they distract you, and then you're like, whoa, you drop that paint in there. Now again, don't gouge it. I'm just gently pulling that paint out of there, okay? And I'm just scratching it. So if you still have white paint, so let's just say I've pulled it all out and I still have a lot of paint in there, or it's patchy or splotchy or whatever, that's when you're definitely going to need a thinner marker, because you can get these skinny markers inside of here. And you're just going to trace around again and darken it back up. Okay, again, my paint is not dry, and I'm not worried about it because I know how to fix this marker when I'm done. Alright. And it darkens it up again. Okay, like that. There's quite a bit of paint on that. So, but again, you're not going to be able to get your Sharpie in there. Your Sharpie's pretty thick. So there you go. And that just sharpens it up. Makes it real black again. There you go. Oh, missed a piece. I really did a number on that, didn't I? There we go. So that's how you fix it. Alright? So don't panic. And you probably won't do that because I've etched it in pretty deep. But again, it's always nice to know how to recover from something should it go awry. Right? Okay. Was there something else I was going to show you guys here? I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay, so I can set these aside now. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. So if your pen, okay, if you're really impatient like me, and I have white paint on this pen now, and if I don't get it off, it's going to dry out. So the tip is going to dry. Take your pen and put it on the tip of a Sharpie and just draw on the Sharpie. Because the chemicals in the Sharpie will not allow your pen or the ink or the paint, sorry, won't allow the paint to ruin your marker. Tip of the day. Works for dried out markers too, just saying. Pigment markers. I don't know if it works on all markers, but if I paint and I put this in and it's wet paint, it works. That's what happens. So that's what we got so far. Now, I'm going to do this off camera because watching me paint is like watching grass grow, I guess. And basically what I want you to do now is I want you to take all of these off. Take your paint off because it should be dry by now if you've allowed it to dry, right? And I'm going to just take all of these. It's still stuck to me. Wow, I have tape issues, man. Okay, so I'm going to just peel it off gently. Alright, and do the same for all of these pieces. And I'm just going to make sure that the glue is dried. Like, don't pull the magnet out. And if you do, set it back down onto your piece so that you know the polarity is going the right way. Because once you get this all painted and glued in there, that's really going to stink if you didn't glue it in properly. Right? So peel everything off. And we're going to paint these. Okay? You're going to paint on this side. And you're going to paint on the score on the magnet side. So again, I'm just gently, oh, let me take this last piece off here. Okay. Again, don't forget the sweater trick, people. So I'm just taking this and I'm placing it on the edge of my table. And I'm just gently reinforcing that, and I'm breaking down the score. Alright, because you want to bend it before you paint it. Alright, so see what I mean? You can see the inside of that. You want that to be a nice shiny red. Okay? Or matte red in this case. Just saying. So continue peeling all your paint off. Paint both sides of this. I'm going to just take this off now before I forget. Okay. all of my paints off. So we're going to go through everything that I haven't shown you that you paint. Okay. This you paint on both sides, all the way around. This you do not need to paint in here. You paint all around this and all around the inside. So you do paint this side, okay? Not inside of the square, because you're going to be putting these in here after you paint. All right? That's why I did that. Then I made them separate, because who wants to deal with masking things off? I don't. And I'm sure you don't either. So leave this unpainted. Paint everything else, both sides. This, you're going to paint this. Again, you're going to have a 90-degree angle. Okay, so you're going to bend it at 90 degrees, like that. You can see it right there. Okay. And you're going to paint just this side. Okay. Leave this side chipboard, because you're going to glue this onto the box. This is what's going to hold the box together, is your 4 construction pieces. Okay. So again, I'm just holding it on the edge of the table like that. And I'm just gently bending it. You don't want to bend it all the way, because if you do, you might crack it, because chipboard can be inconsistent. I mean, I can show you myself that I'm not scared to bend it all the way, but I want it to stay on that angle. Okay, so again, you can do that. It's not going to kill it, but I want it to be on that 90-degree angle. So I'm basically making it kind of stiff if I don't bend it all the way, so it'll stay on that 90-degree angle. Okay, so inside here, all the outside. Okay, this, your door, you're going to paint the inside of the door, and you are going to paint, again, leave this hole, don't paint the hole. You're going to paint in here, paint all the way around. You're going to paint this on both sides. Okay, so here's the big piece that I told you to only paint one side, and this side you're going to paint both sides, just in case you misalign it. Okay, because you're going to sandwich your acetate in here after we're done painting. Again, there's the holes, so that's the side where the magnet goes, and that's just a reminder to myself and to you of where it's going. Now, if you don't want to paint the inside and you feel like you're bang on the money and you don't want to waste the paint on the inside, you don't have to, because like I said, these are going to match up and go together. But once you get your acetate on here, you're not going to be able to see it, or you're not going to be able to paint it. So I'm painting both sides of this. I'm pretty confident I can line one side up. So I'm going to paint this both sides, this both sides. That's the one-sided piece. Both sides of the smaller pieces and all the other pieces I showed you. So I will be back after I'm done painting. Let me fix my camera first. Sorry. There you go. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I've got all of my pieces painted, but what I want to show you guys is how to glue these little pieces on. Okay? You're going to start, so you have 4 pieces for each one. There's 2 long ones and 2 shorter ones. So that's the pieces there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the short ones and put them on the short end first. So I'm going to run a bead of glue right along the very edge. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, make sure that that's on the edge. I'm going to set this straight up and down. Now I'm going to hold it over here so you guys can kind of see it. Okay, and then I'm going to set this here and push it up against there. Alright, and I'm lining it up with each edge before the glue dries. Okay, and then what I can do is I can set it down and gently, Just make sure all your glue is contact and is touching like that. Okay? So I can wipe that off or I can sand it off later. It doesn't really matter. Okay? And if you think you don't have enough contact, just run a bead of glue along here and then let it dry. Alright? Again, we're going to do the short side on the other side here. And I'm going right along the edge. Taking this piece and I'm holding it straight up and down. Now, it's going to be a little bit warped because of your paint. Just straighten it out. Bend the paper to your will. Okay. Like that. And then I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to gently, without, I'm not pushing hard, because if I push too hard, I'll end up pushing it right off the edge there. Okay, so you got these two sides on first, and then these longer pieces fit right inside of here. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing, just run a bead of glue along the edge, very, very edge. And you put a little dab on the other pieces here, and this piece fits right into there. And you can do it straight up and down if you want, because it fits in there exactly. I can just squeeze that in, and then I'm going to stand it up and just gently make sure it's flush with the table, so we know we got everything flat. Okay, again, I can just rub off the excess glue, being careful not to push this in. Okay, so you want it flush, so see there, and then of course your last one. And then after you've done this, you can paint it. Okay, and this is why I wanted you guys to paint it only on one side. Okay, I'm setting this in here. Again, I can just tip this up and do it because it fits in there perfectly. Alright, I'm just trying to hold it on a bit of an angle so you guys can see it, but you guys do not. Oopsie. Glue it to the table. Let's see if I got another stick there. I think I do. Yep. And I'm going to gently push it down, wipe off this excess glue. Make sure it's flush with the edge. Okay, and again, if you don't think you made good contact with it, alright, just run a bead of glue along. Now I'm holding this on an angle so you guys can see it, but you'll want it straight up and down. Okay, like that. Okay, now I've already painted mine to save time. And we're going to start putting this together. So I have 2 of these already, right? And you're going to have 2 as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this back piece. Okay, and we are going to take these and snap them on. And they're going to go on there perfectly because that's the way we lined up the magnets. Alright, I'm probably going to scrape that paint off later, and I don't mind the magnets showing. If you don't want the magnets to show, you can get some red, what do they call those things? Geesh. Perfect pearls, blue dot things. Hold on. I don't even know what they're called. I don't have any here. They're all upstairs. Not glossy accents. They're called perfect pearls, I believe. And you just drop it on there. Okay? You can do red, you can do black. You can actually take some glue and put it on there, and then put some red paint and mix it with the glue. But I am actually gonna in the long run, just scrape that off, because I don't mind that magnet being there. Okay, and then if you're giving it as a gift, people will realize that, hey, what's that? It's a magnet. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to leave mine plain. I'm going to scratch all that paint off later. All right, so I'm snapping them in there, and then what I'm doing is I'm turning it over. All right, and what I have here is a perfect gap, because of the way I lasered it for you guys. There's a gap, okay, oops, in between here. All right, and that gap is big enough to compensate for this piece. All right, so like that. And I'm just letting you know this now. Piece is dry. I'm snapping this together. I'm going to set that aside. That's just so I don't lose that. Now, what I'm going to do to these is I'm going to take my telephone pieces here and I'm going to glue them in while everything's flat. It's easier to work with everything while it's flat. You don't have to put a lot of glue because they fit in there pretty darn snug. Okay, if it doesn't go in all the way and it's not flush, all right, so example, you can see that it's nice and flush. If it's not flush on the front, it's probably because you have paint, too much paint here. So just get your pokey tool and scratch it off, or pull the glue out from the edges and the sides, and then your telephone piece will fit in there. So I'm just going to stick all of these 3 pieces in. And again, I'm not using a whole lot of glue because you don't really need a whole lot of glue. And because I've glued these on, I kind of have to push this edge in from the back, make sure it's that, and then flatten it out. Okay, so that goes like that. I have one more. And again, not a lot of glue. Not like I've been doing, that's for sure. And that fits in there perfectly. Then what I want you to do is take these pieces that you only glued one side, and I want you to glue it, except for the long one. Okay, so there's all of these. There's one long one, and that is not it. And I don't know where I put it. That's the long piece. So this long piece is going to go at the bottom of the front. So set that aside. You don't want to put glue on that yet. Okay, and I'm just running some glue along the edges here. And I'm making sure now that I'm wiping it off, because I don't want too much gooping out. And I'm just going to set that right on top of there. Again, if you have excess glue, take it off now while it's still wet. It's just easier. And this glue dries clear, but I'd rather get it out now. And now if you find that your glue does not want to stick to the paint, okay, I know this glue sticks to the paint, so I'm not worried about it, but if your glue, if you find that it's lifting up, just give it a little sand. So you can, before you do this and glue these in, or it doesn't really matter, just get a nail file and just give a light sand, okay, along the edge, and you can see, I think you can see that, because the paint's changing color, and I'm just sanding it so that the glue will stick, okay, so I've just sanded, and you can see it there, really lightly. All right, now I don't have to do that because I know my glue sticks already. I'm going to pull the excess glue out with my pokey tool, okay, like that. So that's one. Let's set this on here. And once you get this all painted, it goes together pretty quick, considering. Now I'm just going to spread my glue out a little bit here because I kind of globbed a bunch on there. So, alright, set that on there. Again, I'm wiping off the excess glue. And like I said, it dries clear, but like to wipe off the excess glue, just in case it looks kind of icky later. Alright. Here's the second one, and here's the third one. Okay. And now because you've painted one side of these, okay, it might tend to bow out a little bit. So see how it's got a little bow in it? Just gently bow it back. Okay, and it's just because when the paint dries, it tightens up and it pulls the chipboard in the top layer. Okay, so it's not hard to get it back to where you wanted it, that's for sure. Okay, again. And push from the back too, just so it sticks in at the bottom. Alright. There we go. Excess glue. And a little bit of glue there still. So let's get that out of there. Okay. So like that. So I have all three of my pieces in now. Next, we are going to work on this part of the door. So what you want to do to hold it steady, if you want, is snap the door into position. Okay, and that's going to give you a little extra to grab onto. Okay, just so you can make sure in advance that everything's lining up. Okay, so that's how that's going to go. Alright, dry fit, make sure it's basically going to fit in there, because if you need to make any adjustments now, it's the time to do it. Okay, so I know everything fits. I'm going to now take my acetate, wherever I put it. It's gone forever. I lost my acetate, people.